Once again, hello guys and welcome back to another of our classes about Excel and the introduction to databases. So in this class, we are gonna do the advanced extraction of data from our database that is just right here. So our goal in this class, as we wrote in our goals, will be to calculate the average income per territory, the average income per sector. So for example, people who are working in healthcare or construction or IT or whatever sector will calculate the average income for each sector. The percentage of people having higher total debts than their yearly income. And finally, the average age of people having more than a certain amount of net worth. Alright, so let's start. So as I said, the first thing we will calculate is the average income per territory. So you wanna, well, after our first calculation right here, which was our basic extraction, you want to start writing. So you will write down average income per territory, and I'll ask you to write down all the territories here. So we'll start just with the first, which is Yukon. So what we'll do, we will use once again an if function to calculate all the incomes that are from Yukon. So what we'll write down is very simple. We'll simply write down if, we open our parentheses, then we go here. So if the area right there is equal to Yukon, we will return the income of the person. If not, we will return the value 0 and simply click on enter. So as you can see, guys, we have the income of this person since it's equal, since here it's Yukon. And for the two first persons, well, they're not from Yukon, so we have the value 0. When it's done, we'll simply drag everything down there. And when it's all done, what we want to do is calculate the average, which is the value under the 0. So if you want to create a more beautiful database and just take all the zeros away, how you can do this, I'll show you a little trick. You simply go on File, click on Options, and you go down there, select Advanced first, then go down there, and you will have a, well, here, it's in Display option for this worksheet, and you will have Show a 0 in cells that have 0 value. So if you want to keep the zeros, or if you want to delete them, you can simply go there and do this. I personally prefer to keep the zeros since I know where exactly I have my formulas and where I don't have them. So we'll keep the zeros. Alright, when it's all done, the way that we will calculate the average of all this will not be with the average formula. If we use the average formula, let me show you what it gives you. We select all our numbers here. So what Excel will do exactly, he will calculate the average, yes, but the problem is Excel will take in consideration all the zeros. So as you can see, the average doesn't make sense. The average of the income is not $3,000. It doesn't make sense. So what exactly we'll use as formula? It's gonna be an average, but it's gonna be average if. So you'll do the exact same thing. You will select absolutely all the values. When it's done, you will click on comma, and then very simple, simply write down bigger, smaller, and 0. Before that, don't forget to write this. And when it's done, simply close the parentheses. And this formula will give you the value of the average. And what Excel does, he just didn't took in consideration all the zeros. So as you can see, this is the average. Well, it's the same formula there. Alright, so when it's all done for Yukon, you simply do the exact same thing for the other areas. And instead of Yukon, you just change the value to the other areas. So let me show you what it should look like. Alright, so as you can see, we have everything here. We have Yukon, we have BC, and all the other areas. And we have our averages right there. So as you can see, this is the average income of each territory. So for let's say Yukon, the average income is this for our other territory, which is in this case BC, well, the average income is this one. So we did our first part, which is calculating the average income. The next thing that we want to do is calculating the average income per sector. So the way it works, we'll do the exact same thing. So it's very simple. We'll use the exact same technique, and we'll write down all our sectors. And after that, when it's done, we'll simply do our calculation. So let me just show you what it looks like. So here I have an example with the health sector. So as you can see, let me just put all this in one big tab. All right. Perfect. All right. So here we have our health sector. So this is for the second question, which is average income per sector. So as you can see, I did the exact same thing. I choose my, I did my if function, and the function is very simple. If the field of work is equal to health, for the first one, I will generate the income. If not, I will generate the value 0. So I did this for the health sector, and then I simply dragged everything down there. So when it's all done, well, as you can see, I have all the incomes for the health sector. So no matter the territory, I don't really care about the territory. I just know that everybody who works in the health sector, I have their income there. And then when it's all done, what I want to do is simply calculate the average of everything here. So as you can see, I have the average income of everyone who works in the health sector. So as you can see, it's very simple. I simply use the same technique that I did for the past exercise. So it should give you something like this for the average income per sector. So we have our 6 sectors, and it should give you the exact same, the exact same table, as you can see here, and the exact same averages. So as you can see, we calculated the exact same way that we calculate the average income per territory. So when it's all done, simply select everything and put it all in a giant tab. So this way we'll be able to identify it later. So the next thing that we want to do is calculate the percentage of people having higher debts than their yearly income. So what exactly we'll do to calculate this? We once again will use an if function, but this time we'll use ones and zeros. So for each person that has debts that are higher than their yearly income, and we're talking here about their total debt, so mortgage, everything, I will generate the value 1. For everyone who doesn't have their debts that are higher than their yearly income, we'll generate the value 0. So how exactly we'll do this? Simply write down equal, and we come back there. So if a certain person has their value of debt, so all their debts, higher than their income, so in this case it's here, we want Excel to generate the value 1. If it's not, we will want Excel to generate the value 0, sorry. So as you can see, Excel generated the value 1, since the total amount of debts of this person is higher than the total income of this person. So when it's all done for the first one, simply drag everything down here. The next thing that we want to do, since we want to have the percentage, we want to calculate how many persons we have. So how do we do this? Very simple. We'll write on our second tab. So percentage of people, all right, so it's gonna be here. We'll generate our answer here. So simply write down equal. And then how do we calculate a percentage? So it's gonna be something on something else. So we want to calculate, so we'll divide everybody here. So all the persons that have higher debts than their yearly income. So it's gonna be the sum of all those people divided by all the people that we have here. So it's gonna be count all those people. So what exactly this function means, it's very, well, this formula means, what I just did is I calculated the sum of all those people, all those numbers, which is the sum of everybody that have debt that are higher than their yearly income, and I divided it by the number of people that we have here. So in this case, we have 97%, well, just put it in percentage. We have 90% of people who have debts higher than their yearly income. All right, when it's done, simply once again do the exact same thing. Just put it in a huge square. The last thing that we want to calculate is the average age of people with a net worth higher than a certain amount. All right, so how do we calculate this? So the first thing we want to do is once again just write it down. Then write down the income. So we have the income that we will decide later. If you want to calculate the average age of millionaires, we'll write it down. So as you can see here, I selected 50,000. Then what we will use is simply another if function. So the first thing I will write down is if the net worth of a person is greater than this cell right here, we'll generate the age of the person. So the age will be here. If not, we'll generate the value 0. So right here, the net worth of this person is higher than 50,000. And what happens? Well, the age of this person is generated. Then when it's, so let me just re-explain the formula to be sure that you guys understood. So once again, if the net worth, so once again, as you can see here, the net worth of a person is higher than this value, so in this case we use 50,000 as a reference, we will generate the age of this person. If not, we will generate the value 0. So each time that a person doesn't have, let's say, this income, we'll just not generate the age of this person. When it's all done, don't forget to lock your cell here, so with the dollar signs. You simply drag everything down there. And as you can see, you have all those ages generated. And then if you want to play with all those things, you can write down higher numbers. For example, here it's 100,000. You can write down 1 million. As you can see, no one has incomes of 1 million. But once again, don't forget that all this is very theoretical since we use random values. So it's normal that the answers don't really reflect the reality. All right, so when it's all done, once again, what we want to do, we want to calculate the average of those ages. How do we do it? The exact same formula that we used before. So it's going to be a average if, and we'll write it down. Once again, don't forget to use general. All right. So as you can see here, the average age of a person having an income of $100,000 is 35 years old. So once again, as I said, maybe the answer doesn't always make sense since it's random data. But if you had a real database, it would give you an answer that make more sense. All right, so as you can see, guys, we just did an extraction of more advanced data. So the only thing is it took us more than one calculation. But right now we have all our database analysis that is done. The next step that we will have to do is put everything beautiful and presentable. So the next thing that we will do is create a dashboard to put out our data in it. So that's it for this course, guys, and see you all in our next class where we are going to create a dashboard.